Hi everyone, welcome back to Liberty Park Music for another Etude piano lesson. For today's lesson we're looking at a selection from Czerny's Opus 599 called A Practical Method for Beginners. It's a series of exercise-style pieces geared towards developing the technical facilities of the budding young classical pianist. You may remember that we looked at another one of these at an earlier difficulty level in this course. And as you'll see, this piece is going to focus at least in part on one of the more challenging techniques for beginning pianists, that is rapid, continuous scale passages for the left hand. So we're going to be looking at some fingering, we're going to be looking at some coordination, and we're going to be looking at how we can use things that are not moving so much to help anchor us in place as we go to focus on all of our more movement-based parts. So let's give this piece a look. So the biggest thing you can do to help yourself here, as with almost any such passage, left hand or right, is to focus on the fingering and make sure that you get it right the first time. The two things that are usually the hardest to go back and change if you learn them incorrectly or inefficiently the first go around are fingering and rhythm. These things really like to get into the hands, and once they're there, they're hard to dislodge. So if you've been practicing the standard scale exercises, that will certainly help. But some of these fingerings just don't conform to your basic up-down scale shape. So don't just assume that sticking with your usual fingering is going to cut it here. So if we start from our first measure going into the second, you can see that we're following a standard fingering, 5-4-3-2-1, 3-2-1, but at the top we get a little snake back down and only come up to the upper D of that scale on the third measure. After that, we need to stretch down a bit to play a couple of arpeggiated chords. First, this D on the second half of 3, and then the A major chord in measure 4. Now, this may take a few times to get right, but I think you'll find that the movements are very intuitive. Once you can effectively anticipate having your hands stretch down to the chord notes after you're done playing the scale, you'll probably find that they fit very nicely. Now, down on bar 5 is where things get a little more interesting. We have another upward moving scale, this time starting on A, but if you try to start this scale with your fifth finger, you might discover that things get a little snarly towards the end of the passage in measure 7 and 8. You can certainly try, but unless you know how to effectively adjust your fingering to conform to a less usual shape, you're better off sticking to what's marked. And what is marked is that we start with 4 instead of 5, and then cross to another 4 at the beginning of measure 6. This means not only that you need to switch between having used your fifth finger on the same A at the end of measure 4 to your fourth finger, but also that you're playing the sequence of notes of the D major scale with a non-standard fingering to begin with. Let me break down those 2 points just a little bit more. If I play the left hand in measure 4, you can see that I land on that A with my fifth finger, and then I need to switch to my fourth for the first note of measure 5. And so that's one thing. The second thing, if I play a regular D major scale now, you can see that my first finger is what lands on that A, whereas here for this passage we are playing with 4. So I've just given you a couple of reasons why starting on 4 might not be intuitive. So why are we doing it? So this is a perfect example of something we encounter quite a bit in music, which is that we make some deliberate choices at the beginning of passages so that the endings can be better executed. Now, I'm not going to get into this too deeply here, but basically, when we start with 4 and cross over to 4, we get a symmetrical fingering that plugs us back into the standard fingering of the scale. So watch as I play this slowly. Right? So putting our 4th finger on this E right here is exactly what we do if we were playing this scale in multiple octaves. So if you've been practicing your scales, your hand is going to be instantly more familiar with everything that happens after this point, all the way up through to the end of the passage. So watch a few more times as I play this. In addition to all of that, our right hand is helping us out by doing very little. We have big held notes and then some repeated staccato notes, and you can use that knowledge as a way to help anchor you while you focus on all of this left hand movement. Thanks for watching this lesson from Liberty Park Music. If you enjoyed this lesson and learned something from it, do us a favor, hit that like button. And if you really liked it, share it around. Let your friends and family check it out too. If you want to find more lessons like this or explore other piano-related topics, please come visit us at libertyparkmusic.com. We have full piano courses ranging from beginner to more advanced levels, and everything is online and streaming 24/7 so that you can design your music learning around your schedule and learn in the comfort of your own home from a talented roster of professional teachers and musicians. Come check us out.